What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of Coming Off the Bench. We finally made it to the weekend. We're almost there. Thank you guys so much for coming out here on your Friday afternoon or whenever you guys are watching this episode of Coming Off the Bench. Your support has been absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for all of your support that you've given this channel and this show each and every single day. This is not possible without any of you guys and your support. So thank you guys so much for doing what you do. It makes the world, a better place for me. So I really appreciate all your guys' support. But today, we're going to be talking about a very big article that came out the other day from ESPN, where a bunch of their senior NFL writers, like Dan Graziano, Jeremy Fowler, and a bunch of other people, came out and talked about different NFL topics, and they had two interesting topics to talk about. Mainly being Shedeur Sanders and how the league views Shedeur Sanders and his future in the NFL. We're going to talk about that. And the one that went sort of viral on Brown's social media, which was Jeremy Fowler's opinions about Kevin Stefanski and his job security long term with the Cleveland Browns and how the league may scoop up Kevin Stefanski later on after this season. So we're going to be talking about that. We'll also be giving my opinion on Bubba Ventrone, who talked to the media the other day. Sort of had a little bit of a shot at Andrew Berry talking about the roster construction. We're going to be talking about that as well. But anyways, before we get into today's show, make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 963 right now. You guys are absolutely killing it. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't hit subscribe yet. Or if you have someone who you know would like sports content, whether it be Cleveland or just sports in general, make sure you guys share this podcast or this show with one of those family members. Get them to subscribe. Get them into this community. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, without further ado, you guys ready to get into the first segment of the day, which is the Shedeur Sanders saga. So, as I was saying in my intro, Jeremy Fowler and ESPN writers, different ESPN writers, were talking about the upcoming week of the NFL season and the different storylines heading into this season. A lot of them were talking about Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers and his future and a bunch of other different stories. But they also did talk about two different topics with the Cleveland Browns. And the first one that we're going to talk about is Shedeur Sanders. Now, this is all coming from ESPN, Jeremy Fowler, Dan Graziano, all these different guys were asked to give their opinions about the Browns. And so this one, we're starting with Shedeur Sanders, okay? So the league, they talked to a lot of people around the league about Shedeur Sanders and where the league feels Shedeur Sanders is in his development and what they see his future being long term. So let's get started. The headline says, "What's the buzz around the league on Shedeur Sanders after two starts?" So Jeremy Fowler gets the start here. And it's very interesting what this article goes on to say about Shedeur Sanders. And I want to hear what you guys think down in the comments section below. Jeremy Fowler goes on to say, "People I've talked to see a quarterback who has decent arm strength and is willing to stay in the pocket and wait for plays to develop. But they also see one who needs more seasoning." And a lot of people have said the same thing. "There were a lot of screens and boots on Sunday versus San Francisco," noted one NFL personnel evaluator who watched the game. "You can tell they are trying to protect him, which you want to do with almost all rookie quarterbacks. But overall, I thought he looked pretty comfortable in the pocket. He just needs time." So, again, it's just one NFL personnel evaluator. I don't know what position in the NFL he has in terms of, is he a talent evaluator? Is he a scout? Is he, could he just be some accountant on an NFL team? I don't know. But we don't know how he evaluates personnel. Okay, I'm assuming maybe is he a scout? Maybe, but again, he's not saying anything different from what a lot of people have been saying, which Shador has some traits that you like. He just needs a little bit more time. And again, a lot of people who are writing Shador off saying that he's not good enough or saying that he's the best quarterback they've ever seen. It's still 2 starts in the NFL. He's looked up and down. He's looked like a rookie quarterback. But Jeremy Fowler goes on to say the Browns entered Sanders' Week 12 starting debut believing he could avoid turnovers, which he has done with 1 interception in 2 games. He struggled mightily with sacks in college, which the Browns knew would be a concern. So taking only 4 sacks in 2 starts is a modest victory. So again, I would say the last game against the 49ers, especially in the second half, that was the one time where he took a lot of sacks that he didn't need to take. And it was just a lot of rookie moments for Shedeur. Again, I think he's going to be better the more the season goes on. But we'll get more into the article as Dan Graziano from NFL Network talks about Shedeur Sanders. So Graziano goes on to say, to me and to most of the folks I've asked, Sanders looks like a rookie quarterback, which I've said this multiple times. He has made some plays and throws, some of which Dylan Gabriel wasn't making. Sanders has made some mistakes, some of which, like running out of the back of the pocket, align with concerns people have about him. I see no reason why the Browns shouldn't continue to start him, because the point of the rest of their season seems to be finding out what they have at quarterback so they know how to approach the offseason. And again, I said this the entire time, that from April of this year, even Jimmy Haslam said this before the season started. The whole point of this season is to figure out what you have in the rookie quarterbacks, what you have in Dylan Gabriel and what you have in Shedeur Sanders. And for some reason, the Browns decided to have a 4-man quarterback competition with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and you took vital reps away from Shedeur Sanders and gave them to Kenny Pickett, who didn't play a single snap for you in a preseason game or a regular season game. You took snaps away and reps away from Shedeur Sanders because of that. And Joe Flacco, who was here for 4 weeks, took reps away from Dylan Gabriel and from Shedeur Sanders. So again, you kind of screwed yourself with that. If that was the case, if you're trying to figure out what the rookie quarterbacks are going to be, or what they're, how to develop a rookie quarterback, you sort of stunted the amount of reps that they could get in the first place when you had you had a 4-man quarterback competition, and you had 2 guys who were either gone before the season even started, or they were only here for 4 weeks, and then you traded them away. So again, it's frustrating to be a Browns fan when you just have their talking points is, we want to develop a quarterback. Okay, so then why didn't you? Why didn't you do everything you could to develop a quarterback? So it's frustrating. But Graziano goes on to say they have 2 first-round picks to help them address it if they want, meaning address the quarterback position. Sanders won his first start, which is no small thing for this Browns team. The fans are into it. He has some talent. Let's ride and see what you got. And Jeremy Fowler goes on to basically, Fowler and Graziano go on a back and forth. And the Fowler goes on to say about this, about Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. The body of work through 12 games suggests it's probably not, meaning the Browns' starting quarterback for 2026 is not on the roster. But Sanders has a decent runway to give the team something to consider. And my sense is he'll get the rest of the season to do just that. Gabriel is a good decision maker whose experience showed up in his 6 starts, but he projects more as a quality number 2. Coaches I've talked to think Gabriel is slightly further along in his development than Sanders, who has the bigger arm and frame. So, again, a lot of people think that Dylan Gabriel is a backup quarterback, which, again, goes against Kevin Stefanski. If you're going to take a quarterback in the 3rd round with a top 100 pick, which is a valuable pick, it's a valuable pick, you're going to take a quarterback in the 3rd round with the 94th pick, you better hit on something. I mean, Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. And you took Dylan Gabriel, who a lot of people thought would be a day 3 pick, at least a mid to late day 3 pick, like 5th, 6th, 7th round even. And you took him 94th overall, and most people say he's a number 2. Personally, I think he's a number 3. I don't see him as a backup quarterback. I just think his stature and his skills don't really equate that much. I mean, he's accurate to an extent, and he doesn't make that many mistakes. But he's also 5'9" and doesn't have a huge arm, so he's going to be limited. So Graziano goes on to say again, if nothing else, Cleveland can come out of the season with some idea whether Gabriel or Sanders can be a solid backup or if one of them is a project the team is willing to continue to work on. Best case scenario is Sanders lights it up and the Browns enter the offseason thinking he can be the guy long term. And I think, again, that's what most people want to happen and hope that can happen. He just needs more time and more reps. I'm not sure how likely that is at this point, but there is no harm in finding out. I know Sanders has a lot of people very worked up on both extremes, but my position is that he's a fifth-round rookie on a bad team that has been looking for a quarterback solution for 3 decades. The Browns would be fools not to explore every possible solution, and I think that's what they are doing. So, again, the difference in, the difference in the opinions by Fowler and Graziano, basically they just say the same thing that I've been saying on this show multiple times. They are, Shedeur Sanders needs more reps. He looks like a rookie quarterback. They, are trying to develop Shedeur Sanders, and they're probably going to give him the rest of the season to work out, his kinks. Now, with bringing back Deshaun Watson, I don't know. I don't know if, they're going to try and shoehorn Deshaun in. I would be shocked. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they bring back Deshaun Watson to play later on this season if Shedeur Sanders struggles or if Shedeur Sanders gets hurt and Dillon Gabriel can't go out to play. I don't know, okay? But I think it's a very realistic possibility that that Deshaun Watson could possibly play this season. But again, what the article and Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler go on to say is that Shedeur Sanders needs reps. He needs time. He's a rookie quarterback. He's a fifth-round rookie who has some tangible traits to work with. He's got a good arm. He's 6'2", 6'3". He can work. You can work with some of that stuff, and he's accurate. And if he can just limit the mistakes, which so far he has done, he hasn't thrown he's only thrown 2 picks, and he hasn't thrown a pick last week, okay? So we'll see what he's going to do against the Titans, who are downright horrible in every facet you can imagine, except for somehow they are 13th in the league in getting sacks. But if Shedeur Sanders can limit the amount of mistakes that he makes, okay, he learns to stay in the pocket, which I've noted, he's done a good job of staying in the pocket. Remember, the first game against the Ravens, he was bailing out and trying to run and do all this stuff that he could not do. Second game against the Raiders, what did he do? He stayed in the pocket, he stepped up, he maneuvered, and he made some good throws. Shedeur has some traits that you can work with if you're the Browns, okay? If they continue to work with him, he continues to grow and get better, I would not be mad if the Browns decided, if Shedeur Sanders, now it's all hinges on if Shedeur Sanders decides, or not even decides, but if Shedeur Sanders continues to grow and develop, and maybe he does some good things here down the stretch of the season where you play, you play Pittsburgh, you play Cincinnati, you play, I don't even know who else they have on the roster, Bills. If he can continue to grow and develop and get better at all of these different facets that he needs to work on, then maybe you can open up the possibility of, instead of taking a quarterback early on, like we saw with some mock drafts, right? Instead of trading up trading your two first round picks to go up to get Mendoza to the number 1 pick, right? Instead, you can go out and get a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson at number 5. You can go out and get your offensive lineman later on in the first round. You can you can go from there and build a roster around Shador or whatever quarterback you bring in, and then maybe see what happens in 2026. And if he falls flat on his face, you just get your quarterback with the first pick that you have next year in the draft, okay? But again, what Fowler and Graziano say is what I've been saying for many, many weeks and for many, many months. Shedeur is a rookie quarterback who needs reps. He's going to get better with time, okay? and he's not a finished product. He's neither a horrible rookie who's the worst that they've ever seen, or he's not the best rookie quarterback and God's gift, to humanity, right? So it is a fluid situation with Shedeur Sanders, and it was a very interesting article piece from ESPN that I liked, that they finally got a decent analytical and just a decent conversation about Shedeur Sanders that doesn't go into either extreme. And I'm glad that Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano were able to do that, because we have not been able to have a sane conversation about Shedeur Sanders for a long, long time. And I think that this was a good little subsection of an article that I wanted to talk to you guys about, because it says everything that I've been saying for the last couple of weeks and the last couple of months about Shedeur Sanders and the Dillon Gabriel conversation. Dillon Gabriel looks like a backup quarterback. Shedeur Sanders has some traits that you can work with, and we'll see what he can do with the rest of the season going forward. But that's just my opinion. Thank you guys so much for coming out here on your Friday afternoon. Make sure you guys hit the like button on this stream. Helps us out in the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button if you have not hit subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 963 right now. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Fish Sticks Kanye says you need to stop torturing yourself with the Browns, bro. I know, man. Listen, I was born into this. It is my curse. I have been marked. This is what I'm going to be a fan of till the day I die. And if this team continues to do the same things that they've been doing for the last 30 years, they're going to cause me to die early. Just with the amount of stress that they put on my body. Okay? So, this is what it is. I was born into this. I'm not going to change to another team. I'm not doing it. So, this is what we got. This is what we're working with, okay? So, again, I'm born into this, but I appreciate it. I know a lot of people say the same thing about the Browns. Like, why would anyone put up with this? Well, if you're not from Cleveland, this is like religion. This is basically religion. Fish Stick Kanye says, you're not obligated, bro. I promise. It is. It's a religion here. It really is. I mean, I think it's a trauma thing also, because of how Modell stole the team and moved it to Baltimore, that people are just kind of, they just have PTSD from, from what happened in 95, right? And a lot of people are very, very protective, and they are so obsessed with football because of what happened in 95. So that's what happened. Fish Sticks Against is just focused on Ohio State. So I'm not an Ohio State fan. I'm not a huge Ohio State fan. I'm like a fair weather college football fan, because I'll watch any single team and I'll be happy as long as I watch good football in college football. I'm fine with it. Okay, that's just fine. Was I around to watch John Elway's drive? No, I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I'm only 24, so I'm not. What do you call it? I was not around that, I'm not that old. I was not around for that. My dad was, though. He remembers that. My dad actually worked at the old stadium. So he's got some stories. He worked at the old stadium. He worked at the new one. He's got some stories about what he's watched. I think he watched, I think he was there. I think he was working that day when the drive happened, to be honest with you. It was either that or, no, he was too young for, Red Right 88. But yeah, no, he's been around for that stuff, though. I haven't. And again, I always laugh when Browns fans are like, they always laugh about the older Browns fans, the older Browns fans, make fun of younger Browns fans or something like that, because they go, this is the worst. We've suffered through more than you young Browns fans have, because for some reason the older Browns fans want to make it like a competition between who suffered the most between older Browns fans and younger Browns fans. And I always joke, because I'm like, guys, you got to see Brian Sipe, you got to see Bernie Kosar, you got to go and watch the Browns, be a good football team consistently in the 80s and go to the AFC Championship game multiple times. The best quarterback that I ever saw before Baker Mayfield came here was Derek Anderson. I saw one season of Derek Anderson in 2007, and that was the best quarterback that the Browns had had in the last 20 years before Baker before Baker was drafted here. Okay, and again, Derek Anderson has been the second best quarterback. He's been the second best quarterback. Okay, since 1999. Okay, I think he was the Pro Bowler. I'm pretty sure he was a Pro Bowler. So I've suffered more. Okay, I've been a fan of the Browns when they have been the worst franchise in the NFL. Okay, so that's my thing. Oh, you're a Broncos fan? Okay, yeah, fair enough. But at least you got Super Bowls, so that eases your pain. We're not the same organization since we sold out to Walmart and Pat Bolin died, and our uniforms are ugly now. I don't mind your uniforms as much. I'm not gonna lie. They're fine. They're fine to me. I don't mind your guys' uniforms, but and again, I don't know why you guys are getting a new stadium. Your guys' stadium looks fine to me. I don't know why you guys are getting a new stadium. I know it's like the rave now, but like your guys' stadium looks good. It looks fine. And you guys are still holding like events in that place too, so I don't understand why you guys are getting a new stadium. All right. Anyway, I don't want to get more sidetracked. I'm sorry. We're going to move on to the next segment, okay? Just got to get set up here real quick. But we'll get set up with the Kevin Stefanski conversation that went mega viral the other day. There we go. Let's get set up here. Boom. All right. So, Kevin Stefanski going on with the Jeremy Fowler, Dan Graziano article from ESPN. They were talking about the Kevin Stefanski conversation, and Jeremy Fowler gave his 2 cents on Kevin Stefanski's future with the Browns and Kevin Stefanski's future with regards to the NFL. And a lot of people from around the league have had a lot of different opinions about Kevin and his job security and how they basically view Kevin in the NFL around the league. And it's a very big dichotomy from how Cleveland fans view Kevin Stefanski versus how the rest of the league views Kevin Stefanski. And especially in the media, too. The media loves Kevin Stefanski, but he doesn't get the same love as he does around the league as he does in Cleveland. And Jeremy Fowler has this article, again, in the subsection. He has like his notes or whatever, his takes, Fowler's notes. And he goes on to talk about Kevin Stefanski here in a couple of bullet points here. So he goes on to say, Kevin Stefanski's future comes up often in my conversations with people in the league due to the Browns' 6-23 record the past 2 seasons. Another reason his name comes up, several executives and coaches I've spoken to believe he'd be a prime candidate for a head coaching job elsewhere should Cleveland move on after the season. Well, that's interesting because it sounds like Jeremy Fowler is sort of opening the door and hinting that Kevin Stefanski may be gone after this season. And again, I've showed you guys in another video. You guys can go back and watch that video. You guys can go back and watch, the video I talked about with, I think it was Dan Jones from The Athletic. They were talking about, around the league, people were saying that Kevin Stefanski could, be fired and then they bring back Andrew Berry, or they just clean house and no one comes back. Nobody comes back. Andrew Berry's gone. Kevin Stefanski's gone. But in no certain scenario did anything say, did anyone say that Kevin Stefanski could stay and Andrew Berry could go? It was either they both go or it's just Kevin that goes. And Jeremy Fowler is sort of saying the same thing here, where he goes, if Cleveland moves on, he's going to go to another team and be a prime candidate for a head coaching job. Okay. So here is a quote from an AFC executive. Okay. We don't know what role they are in, but they're an executive of an AFC team. He's a good coach, experienced, two-time coach of the year. Cleveland is a hard place to win. An AFC executive said he might need a fresh start elsewhere. And I think that is fair. I think he does need a fresh start. I just think that is very evident to see Kevin and the failures that he's had on offense. Again, I said this multiple times. Okay, and it's funny how a lot of the things I say comes out to be true in the end later on. But I said this, if you are a offensive head coach, last year you changed the offense to sort of cater to Deshaun Watson's skill set. You bring in Ken Dorsey, you let Alex Van Pelt go. You bring in Ken Dorsey, who's more of a spread offense. You think Deshaun Watson can thrive in that sort of offense. The offense turns to absolute crap, doesn't work. You were the play caller of that. You were the play caller as a head coach. You give up play calling duties to Ken Dorsey, okay? You sort of have success a little bit in the passing game with Jameis Winston. You know, he throws for a lot of yards, but he also threw a lot of interceptions. Okay. This year, before the season started, the whole crux of, the season was Kevin is going to go back to his offense that he likes to run, like heavy personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel even, and that we're going to go back to what made the Browns successful in the first place under Kevin Stefanski back in like 2020, 2021. We're going to go, run 12, 13 personnel. We're going to run the ball, establish the run to set up the pass, all right? Or sometimes he likes to say that he likes to pass to set up the run, whatever. But this year was supposed to be Kevin Stefanski's return to form on offense. And when the offense is worse, statistically worse than it was last year, and then Kevin Stefanski's the play caller, that's not good. And then to add on top, when Kevin Stefanski decides to give up play calling duties for not only the second year in a row, but in the offensive system that you said is yours. So if you're saying that you can't, coach and call plays effectively in your own offensive system that you like to run, that's a black mark against you. That's a black mark against you as an offensive play caller and as an offensive coach. And yes, does he have adequate talent in players on the offensive side of the football? No. I've said this multiple times. He doesn't have the talent on the offensive side of the football to really have a good offense. But you're also in part of the draft process, and you could say, hey, I want this guy. Which you did with Dylan Gabriel. And Dylan Gabriel, you took with a prime pick, 94th in the draft, and you made an awful mistake. You took a backup quarterback in the top 100. You took a 5'9" quarterback in the top 100. That is not good, man. And so, again, when you add all of this stuff up, I just don't understand why he's getting so much defense in the media in that. Yes, is Cleveland a hard place to find success? Sure. Obviously, when you have Jimmy Haslam as an owner, it's going to be tough. But we cannot say that Kevin Stefanski is some innocent victim in this when he has played a lot of responsibility in why the Browns are not doing as good as they should have, or as they should be. All right, but Jeremy Fowler goes on, this year's candidate pool is considered weaker than in previous years, which benefits a coach with Stefanski's credentials. If let go, Stefanski would have the option to pursue a head coaching job right away or take a year off, which worked brilliantly for Mike Vrabel after his Tennessee departure. That typically depends on what might be open a year from now, the viability of the candidate, and whether the coach is simply burned out and needs a year. But the two jobs currently open, Giants and Titans, could use a mix of offensive acumen and experience, a mold that Stefanski fits. So, again, they're basically saying that he can go to either, the Giants or the Titans or whatever team decides to fire their coach. Maybe Raheem Morris in Atlanta gets fired. Who knows, all right? But, again, when you have it's just so frustrating to hear this stuff sometimes, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand why Kevin Stefanski gets criticized a lot, okay? And this article sort of comes off the same way. Like, they're just not understanding why Stefanski is getting criticized. Again, it's like, yes, he's the two-time coach of the year. That's great. He did great in 2020. He did great in 2023. He did fine. Okay, he led the Browns to the playoffs in both years. He did so in 2023 with 5 different starting quarterbacks. That's great. They were injured to hell and back as well. That is fantastic. But the last 2 years, once again, they put up the record, 6-23 in the last 2 seasons. This offense that you've run out for the last 2 years is not good. You're a part of the draft process that does not know how to draft and evaluate and develop offensive talent. The best offensive talent that they have drafted and developed in the last 6 years that they have been here, or the last 5 years that they have been here, was Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is a 6th-round receiver. That is the best offensive player that they have taken in 5 years, and he was drafted in 2020. That was the first year they were together. That's their best offensive player. Jed Wills was a first-round pick. He hasn't been good enough. Okay. Cedric Tillman, not good. Okay. Maybe Quinshon Judkins, you can say, is their best. Maybe. I'd probably say yes. But it's still early. I would probably say Quinshon Judkins. But the last 5 years that they have been in power, 6 years, it was Donovan Peoples-Jones for the longest time. And that was in 2020 as a 6th-round pick. 6th-rounder. They don't know how to evaluate offensive talent. And that goes along, and a lot of people put blame, and I've said it too, a lot of people put that blame on Andrew Berry. You can also put the blame on Kevin Stefanski. That's his side of the football. He's involved in the drafting process. He's involved in evaluating these guys and talent. He wanted Dillon Gabriel. He was the one to push for Dillon Gabriel. From all accounts and reports, he's the one who wanted Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. So if Stefanski is evaluating talent and wants offensive talent, he hasn't done a good enough job. And the people that he has wanted and that he has advocated for, they're not good. So again, when you have all of these things going on, Stefanski has done an awful job at developing talent, evaluating talent, at diagnosing talent, and they just have not done a good enough job, okay? It's not good enough. It's just not good enough, okay? So this is why I get frustrated when I see, like Jeremy Fowler talking about like how, he's 2 Coach of the Years. He's 2 Coach of the Year awards. It's fine. He's so good. It's so hard to be, the Browns head coach. It's so hard to win in Cleveland. Well, when you have a guy who has not had a good offense in 2 years, the offense that he is supposed to run, that is supposed to be his this season, is worse than the offense that he ran last year, that he changed because of Deshaun Watson. He brought in Ken Dorsey. When it is worse with your offensive scheme and your offensive system now than it was last year, that's a black mark, man. And then you give up play calling 2 years in a row and on your offensive scheme that you supposedly thrive in, the Browns thrive in, that's fireable. And so, yeah, again, a lot of the Stefanski defenders like to say, well, if you fire him, who are you going to replace him with? What are you going to do after? He's just going to get a head coaching job somewhere else and maybe he becomes successful. Okay, sure. But is it working now? No, it's not working now. And then you go, well, what is he supposed to work with? How's a lot of, like Jason Lloyd says this all the time. Well, what's he supposed to do? What offense is he supposed to run with all the players that he's been given? You mean the players that him and Andrew Berry collaborate with and try to pick? Like, again, by all accounts and reports, he advocated and wanted Dillon Gabriel. If that is the case, that's fireable. You could have gotten another offensive lineman. You could have gotten a receiver. Could have done anything with that pick. You chose a 5'9", what most people say is a backup quarterback. That's not good enough, man. And you guys have not developed or diagnosed or evaluated talent on the offensive side of the football good enough. And Andrew Berry, to his credit, this year has gotten his draft picks right. He's gotten his draft picks right. We'll see how Shador works out, but for the most part, outside of Dylan Gabriel, the other draft picks are fucking home runs. They're home runs. Quinshon Judkins, home run. Mason Graham, home run. Harold Fannin, home run. Dylan Sampson, pretty nice player. Schlesinger, grand slam. He's going to be the defensive rookie of the year. Maybe even an all-pro. And even a pro bowler. So when you have reports saying Andrew Berry wanted Shedeur Sanders, and then other reports saying that Kevin wanted Dylan Gabriel, I'm sorry. Who got the better end of that deal? Who seems like they can evaluate talent versus not? And who's supposed to be the offensive guru and who's not? That's what it all comes down to in the end, right there. So again, they can defend Kevin Stefanski. That's fine. Is he going to get another job in the NFL? Yes, obviously. Probably as an OC or a head coach. That's fine. Again, we all expect him to probably get another job in the NFL. No one's saying that he shouldn't work in the NFL. But right now, in Cleveland, it's not working. It's not good enough. He's not done a good enough job at developing people, at coaching people, and the culture around the team has not been good enough. The offense has not been good enough, and it's been multiple years at this point. It's not good enough. Okay, so Fowler can write all these articles. People in the media and around the league can defend Kevin Stefanski all they want, but at the end of the day, it hasn't been good enough, and that's just the cold hard truth. So, anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the show. I'm gonna have to cut early because stuff's going on. You guys, I don't know if you guys hear my phone's been ringing. It's just been going nuts. Apparently, there's stuff going on, so we're gonna have to cut the show early. I appreciate all of you guys coming out here. Adam to 2T R9T says if Stefanski had started Shador before Gabriel, they would probably be in the playoff hunt right now. I don't agree with that. I think they'd probably have one or two more wins. You have to get things right away in the NFL because there's only 17 games. Yes, they got to get things right. Again, we'll see what happens next year. I think there's going to be a change at head coach. We'll see what happens in Pittsburgh and in Baltimore. There might be some more head coaches out there that the Browns could get. Maybe even if you go after Kubiak in Seattle. Personally, I would rather go after a guy like Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh if they get fired. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, it's not been good enough what's been going on with Stefanski. It's not good enough. There needs to be changes, and I think there's going to be changes. There's too much smoke. There's too many articles that we've talked about and that we've covered that say that something's going to happen. There's going to be some change at the end of this season. There's been too many articles. There's been too much smoke. There's been too much talk around the league to say otherwise and to say that Stefanski or someone's not getting moved at the end of this year. All right? But anyways, we're going to cut it there. Thank you guys so much for coming out here on your Friday afternoon whenever you guys are watching this on YouTube. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for everything that you've done the last couple of weeks. You guys have been killing it with the support. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I will see you guys all on Sunday after the Browns-Titans game, hopefully after a Browns